Tonight, a music festival in Etobicoke ends with panicked crowds running for safety. Now questions about the event's security measures.
We didn't see any type of emergency exits set up. There was too much confusion for there to be any kind of real safety.
A member of the event's own security team raises concerns. Plus,
it's just inconsiderate conduct that is something that has no place in a big city.
the city teams up with police to crack down on loud vehicles. Details about the new campaign released tonight. And yup, it's a thing. A Toronto man is heading to the Air Guitar World Championships. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. Security preparations were sloppy and hasty at a music festival last night in Etobicoke. Those damning allegations coming directly from a member of the security team at the Sands Caribbean Music Festival. That was the scene of a brawl that turned into a trampling last night as people tried to run away. Ali Chiasson brings us this CBC Toronto exclusive and a warning: some of the video in Ali's story is graphic.
This is going to be hell. We didn't see any type of emergency exits set up. When we first rolled up, we said there's no way this is it. Yeah. This cannot be it.
Can you take us back to when things went left?
So I'll say when the party actually started. So the party technically began at 2, but the actual crowd got there, I'll say, around 4:30. By 5, it was completely rammed. You had to step on people and sidestep to get through people and brush against people. There was no personal space. By that point, I realized we're probably gonna have some problems. I would be surprised if everybody was here okay.
You said that was another issue, right? There were so many different security
lack of communication
firms.
So there was no clue what was going on, who's being sent where. So when the MC's calling for security,
EMS link up, EMS link up, please.
We have no clue if someone's responded yet or not. We don't know if we should still proceed to respond or stick to our post. There was too much confusion for there to be any kind of real safety.
Why do you want to get your story out here?
I'm seeing too much confusion online, and especially for the people who were injured, I think it's unfair to say that, oh, they were just minor injuries. There are some people that were severely injured.
What did you see?
Well, I've seen people getting carried out with broken, I'm seeing a bone kind of hanging out of your foot. For example, the gentleman who was bottled over the head.
It doesn't look good.
I'm just trying to find my partner, who I even carpooled there with, who was standing right basically where this man is now laying. Couldn't find her, and then I remember just seeing phones. And I just remember being so disgusted with my city.
So the Toronto police are investigating the assault that allegedly took place, where the man was hit over the head with a glass bottle. But they're also investigating the origin of one lone bullet that was found in this very parking lot. Have a listen.
They heard, and some other people heard, what they believed to be sounds of gunfire. So then we spread out throughout the music festival to try and find where the sounds of gunshots came from. We were not able to find any signs of gunfire. We did find one bullet, not a spent shell casing. So originally it was reported as a spent shell casing, but it's a full bullet, so it's still no evidence of gunfire.
CBC News has been trying to reach the event organizers for comment since yesterday, but we've still not heard back. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
The editor of a Toronto-based publication who is convicted of spreading hatred against women and Jews could see his trial reopened, claiming that his lawyer deliberately threw the case.
Upon sober reflection, I'm realizing that he did a terrible job, and I was entitled to mount a defense. We're going to talk about what should have been done, and the judge is going to decide if what should have been done could have made a difference. Not would have made a difference, but could have conceivably made a difference. And if it could have made a difference, then he has to give me a new trial.
James Sears was to be sentenced today, but instead the judge will allow him to argue his case as to why his trial was not valid. The judge says Sears must provide a list of his proposed witnesses and say what they would say. But his critics say it's just another way to prolong the inevitable.
Well, I think what we're going to see, unfortunately, in a couple weeks' time is a parade of kooks being brought up on stage to talk about anything other than the case. It's a classic case of ragging the puck, and that's what he's doing to avoid going to jail. But ultimately, he is going to go to jail.
The Crown wants Sears to serve a year in jail. The publication was distributed to more than 300,000 homes and businesses in East Toronto and was published online as well. Sears will be back in court August 1st. Toronto's mayor wants to make our city a quieter place. Fed up with excessively noisy vehicles, the city is beefing up its bylaws to crack down on people found to be unreasonably loud. Our Hoea Fidel joins us live from Front Street tonight. And Hoea, the mayor says the city has come up with an objective measure for what is too loud.
Chris, let's talk about motorcycles, for example. If they have exhaust pipes that are louder than 92 decibels, then that is considered too loud. And to deal with this, the city is establishing a noise enforcement team that will have 24 officers that are dedicated to monitoring excessive noise in the city. Now, they'll have new guidelines and even tools to help them, like a reader that will be able to pick up on those loud noise levels and show that it is, in fact, over the limit. Now, these noise rules are not just for motorcycles. It's for any vehicle that has either a loud engine or a blaring stereo or is even honking excessively. Now, to put this in perspective, the city receives about 11,000 noise complaints every year. So Mayor John Tory says this is really necessary, and he also adds that it's up to drivers to be considerate of other people and comply with the laws.
It is just the least defensible, the least explainable, the least acceptable, the most inconsiderate kind of noise that can be made in a big city. And we want to keep our city humane. We want to keep it livable for people who want to live in all parts of the city, because this is not just a downtown problem.
All right, so some tough talk from the mayor there, but you spoke with some motorcyclists earlier today. I bet they had some very different language to use.
That's right, Chris. I stopped by a motorcycle repair shop, and many of those riders were basically saying, you know, they don't believe that their bikes are too loud. They were really disappointed to hear that this enforcement is taking place, and two of them went as far as saying that altering their bikes to make them a little louder is about safety.
The day I got my bike, it was within the same week that I had to make it a little bit louder just because nobody knew I was right next to them. And it was a little bit of a scary thing to be around cars and they don't know you're there, considering how small we are on the road compared to cars.
In 2017, I was on my way to work. I was riding a Suzuki Gixxer, very common sport bike, and I had a stock exhaust on it. I was riding on the 401 just before the Black Creek exit, and a car crossed multiple lanes and took me right off my bike. There's a good chance that if I had a louder pipe, they would have heard me, and that wouldn't have happened.
But, Chris, despite some of these concerns, the city is moving ahead with their enforcement, and this is a joint effort between the city and police. And starting tonight, there will be a number of blitzes around the city and throughout the summer, really, that are going to be cracking down on these loud cars and this excessive noise that people really complain about a lot, especially in the summer. You might even hear that right now. And that is an example of something that police will be cracking down on. And the city says right now their main priority is spreading awareness and really letting people know that this is coming, and that if they don't comply, they will get a ticket. These bylaws will officially be enforced in October. I'll send it back to you.
And cue the motorcycle. Wow, thanks for this tonight, Hoea. Time now for a first look at your weather forecast, and Colette is here. Colette, today seemed downright comfortable, but I feel like that's about to change.
Yes, your feeling is correct. It is going to start to change. Yeah, for those of you who don't like the heat and humidity, it's going to be building. That's going to be the trend we'll be seeing as we go a little deeper into this week. So today was your more comfortable day. Wednesday, for certain reasons, I'll tell you why it may not be too bad, but already southwestern Ontario looking at a heat warning. Humidex values in the 40s and highs in the 30s, lows in the 20s, but not just the low 30s and 20s. We're we're talking about approaching the mid. So that's why the heat warning there. By the end of the week, we may certainly see that spreading a little further eastward. But you can see from the daytime highs, 32 unofficially in Windsor, a little cooler with the breeze turning in the afternoon off the lake there for Toronto, so closer to 26. A few isolated showers kind of moving out of southwestern Ontario and scooting through the GTA. Not much to it. Be gone by the morning commute, but then tomorrow afternoon we get back into a situation, especially towards the southwest, for seeing some scattered showers and thunderstorms and a few isolated ones towards the GTA. But overnight tonight, 21, running 5-6 degrees above seasonal, so even these overnights quite mild. And then tomorrow afternoon, 32, really heating up compared to today. It's going to feel more like 40 degrees. Isolated thunderstorms tomorrow, more significant shower activity into Wednesday. Chris, I'll fill you in on that coming up a little later.
All right, sounds good. Talk to you then.
Sounds good.
2 teen girls are with their families tonight after what's being called a harrowing ordeal lost in the wilderness. A provincial police canine unit located the 2 girls late this morning, alive and in good condition. 16-year-olds Marta Malik and Maya Marotta from Kitchener had last been seen on Thursday in Algonquin Park. They were on a camping trip with friends, but apparently got lost on a trail near Rainbow Lake. Searchers were optimistic they'd find the teenagers in good health because they're experienced campers and weather in the area has been favorable. To provincial news now, and Premier Doug Ford, who is tonight promising to end the problem of hallway medicine within a year. But he's facing a dose of reality from within his own cabinet. Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley now with why Ford's health minister is admitting that timeline would be tough to achieve.
Hallway medicine. Scenes like this in Brampton Civic Hospital last year got the attention of Premier Doug Ford.
When we got elected, there was people in hallways across our province waiting to see a doctor for 5 hours.
At the Premier's conference on Thursday, Ford unveils a bold new promise.
As we stand right now, we're down to 1,000 patients in the hallways, but I can assure the people of Ontario over the next year, we won't have anyone in the hallways there.
That was just 4 days ago, and already the health minister is hedging on Ford's pledge.
I can't put a specific timeline on it.
At a Toronto hospital for an unrelated announcement, Christine Elliott refuses to commit to Ford's one-year deadline.
We're working as quickly as we can to end hallway medicine. The fact is that there's not just one simple answer to it. There's a number of approaches that need to be taken.
The hallway healthcare problem tends to peak in flu season, but it's now becoming a chronic issue in hospitals across Ontario all year long. In late June, the Queensway Carleton Hospital in Ottawa was so overcrowded that it declared a code orange. There were 44 patients on stretchers in hallways and another 100 waiting for treatment in the ER.
Hallway medicine will not be brought to an end by magical thinking, which is what the government is currently engaged in.
If the Ford government is going to solve the problem of hallway medicine, it's going to need to fund more places like this, the Reactivation Care Centre at Humber River Hospital. This newly renovated site opened last year in a hospital wing that had been mothballed. It houses more than 200 patients from 6 different GTA hospitals. Typically, these patients are waiting for space in a long-term care home. So this center frees up acute care beds for patients who would otherwise be in the hallways. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
Still ahead, if you use the Gardiner Expressway to get around, you'll want to take note. As of 10 tonight, you've got one less off-ramp to choose from. We'll tell you how it will affect your daily commute after the break. In the last 2 weeks alone, the city's transportation services filled more than 6,300 potholes. They keep a record of the repairs online. So far for the entire year, they've filled more than 130,000. It costs approximately $4 to $5 million each year to fix potholes in Toronto. Cleaning up potholes is one of the things that'll be tackled starting tonight as major road work kicks off on a busy off-ramp of the Gardiner Expressway. The westbound Young Bay York off-ramp is now closed, and it won't reopen until mid-September. As Angelina King reports, this closure is certain to cause headaches.
During morning rush hour, cars line up on the westbound Gardiner ramp to exit onto Yonge Street. But now the Young Bay York off-ramp is closed for 2 months for repairs. It shut down at 10 o'clock tonight and reopened September 16th, a major headache for some drivers using the ramp before it closed.
I'm going to do the side streets, but then everyone else will be doing it, so it's going to be a mess.
Any ramps closing off the Gardiner are a pain.
Which one?
The one you're on right now, 2 months.
Closed? This one for 2 months?
Yeah.
Really? It's gonna be a hard time, man, because we're always around here. So this one, if this one has been closed 2 months, I'll be suffer for 2 months.
And that's not it, because work is being done around the clock on the Young Bay York ramp. The Jarvis Street on-ramp right below will be closed overnight for safety reasons. That starts tomorrow until the end of the month. This is just the first phase of the city's plan to rehab the Gardiner between Jarvis and Cherry Streets.
This is public safety. It's paramount for us, and it's critically important work, and we need to get to it to make sure that the ramp and the Gardiner remain safe now and into the future.
This is all part of the city's $2.3 billion plan to repair the Gardiner over 10 years. Expected completion 2026. For now, DeAndrea says to deal with the closure, drivers will just have to leave early and take a different route.
If you're coming down the DVP, consider taking Richmond Street or Lakeshore. As well, if you're coming down the Gardiner, consider getting off at Sherbourne Street or at Spadina.
Drivers are already dealing with congestion on the DVP. Lanes are closed between Don Mills and Lawrence until October for bridge repairs.
There's construction all over the city. It's crazy.
It's not great to get around here, but you know what? You just put your tunes on and bear with it.
It sucks for the summer, but it's good for the roads. We need to get the roads fixed.
A bit of positivity and patience, which drivers will need this construction season, because once these repairs are done, the city will start on the next phase of work. Then drivers will be dealing with closures on the Gardiner itself between Cherry and Jarvis Streets. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
One thing you don't have to gripe about is a beautiful shot of our city skyline tonight. It was a nice sunny start to the week, and good news for those of you who like the heat. Well, that's here to stay, but the bad news is we've got some wet weather on the way. Colette Kennedy is back with your extended forecast right after the break.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
And Colette's back now with another look at your long-range weather forecast. Colette, I know we were talking about how hot it's going to get, so it sounds like AC or a beach, if I can get there.
Yes, some water, a little bit of a breeze, anything that could kind of cool you down like that. That's what we're talking about. And becoming almost dangerous, oppressive as we get towards the end of the week. So just something to kind of note as well, especially of those of you who have to spend a lot of time or working outdoors or that kind of thing. So our almanac, our average high at this time of year is 27. Average low right around 15. This morning we were at about 15.5, so pretty seasonal. Our afternoon high just above 26, so very close to, it's like 26 point something, that 27 degrees. But it's changing. As soon as tomorrow we're going to see that temperature heating up into those low 30s. So got to get accustomed to this. Wednesday we get a bit of a reprieve, but that's just because of some of the moisture that'll be pushing through. So mild nights, not just the daytimes. Summertime pattern, meaning that convective activity. We get some isolated thunderstorms into the afternoon hours. We have that risk tomorrow that won't be everywhere that sees rain, but just because we get that lift with the extra humidity. And speaking of it, hot, humid, yeah, some hazy conditions as well. So some of that precipitation from southwestern Ontario clearing out through the overnight, as well a few little light showers possible overnight tonight through the GTA. And then as we go through the day on Tuesday, it's into the afternoon, say from about 2 till about 7, we could see just a few showers or the odd thunderstorm kind of popping up around the GTA. A few areas then locally locally getting some heavy downpours, but nothing in other areas. More significant chance for some of that through the day tomorrow for southwestern Ontario, but especially into the afternoon hours. Wednesday, it's more significant. We're going to see some of that moisture from the remnants of Barrie coming through the area, and as it does, that's when we'll see more precipitation. But at least towards Wednesday evening, I think we'll see it clearing back out again. This is a look at your overnight lows for southwestern Ontario. So there you are in those low 20s into the 30s for you into tomorrow afternoon. And the risk, it is slight, but there's a risk of even some severe weather. So something to keep in mind too there for southwestern Ontario. Less of that chance for the GTA. 21 the overnight low, 22 for St. Catharines. Highs tomorrow really heating up towards those low 30s, feeling closer to 40 degrees. And then have a look at Wednesday. Because of the extra cloud cover and that moisture moving through, we get a slight break there in the temperature, not a whole bunch in the humidity. But Thursday starts to build. Friday is when it really becomes oppressive. Highs around 33, feeling crisp like the mid 40s. That's significant.
Wow, we'll be careful. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
This is like a metamorphosis of sorts for me to get out there and show people what rock and roll is all about.
This next story is just fantastic. You won't want to miss it. We take you to the Canadian Air Guitar Championships. Stay with us. A Toronto rocker is heading to Finland to represent Canada at the Air Guitar World Championships. The Canadian qualifier was held this weekend, and our Daniel Clark got a front row seat.
From coast to coast, they faced off at Toronto's Mod Club Saturday for the title. National champion. They each get 60 seconds to spread the love.
The love of music, the love of rock, just the love of being dorks about everything, right?
Some of them are so dynamic, you'd never guess their day job. Like 13-year air guitar veteran Tyler Cat Friday Gardner.
I'm a welder. When I go to work and I put on my coveralls, that's when I'm putting the mask on.
But on stage, his coveralls are replaced by an 80s-style gold bustier straight out of a Madonna music video.
We jump around looking like goofballs, throwing kicks and windmills, but at its core, air guitar allows me to be something that I don't normally get to be, myself.
Air guitar is also about broadcasting a bigger message.
You cannot hold a gun when you're holding an air guitar.
The air guitar community is tight-knit, but they're also competitors. A panel grades the performers out of 6, and a winner is declared. His name is Ichabod Fane. This Torontonian's victory earned him a ticket to Finland next month, where he'll be repping Canada at the World Air Guitar Championships.
I'm excited, and I can't wait to try and do us proud. I know we took 3rd place last year, and God, I'm going to try for 1st.
Daniel Clark, CBC News, Toronto.
It is inspiring to see people let loose like that. I just love it. And that is our show for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Have a great night.